Bonus episode alert. I was not planning on releasing an episode today, but this is a topic that is too important to not talk about. I was thinking about this on my walk and I knew that I needed to record this. Today, my goal of this podcast is to bring awareness to one of the biggest aspects that trip people up on their intuitive eating journey. So one of the biggest roadblocks that does not get talked about enough for people who they learn about intuitive eating. So this might be you learn about intuitive eating. It sounds amazing. It sounds like you're way out after years of yo-yo dieting. You want freedom, you want peace, you want balance, you want consistency when it comes to food. And so you start working on healing your relationship with food. And this is mostly geared towards people who are trying to do this on their own. So you start working on your relationship with food, and for a couple of weeks, it feels really good, right? You're incorporating foods that you didn't eat when you were on diets, and you're starting to feel more at peace and more relaxed around food. And then what I often see, and this is the reason why I'm doing this podcast episode, is because I actually talked to a real life woman in my community, I think it was yesterday, through a coaching session. And I'm going to get a little bit deeper into how we got there. But what I see often for people who learn about intuitive eating and they start doing the work on their own is eventually they hit a roadblock and they start reverting back to their old patterns. They start reverting back into diet culture. They kind of get sucked back in. And a lot of the times it's because of this one thing that people forget when it comes to healing your relationship with food. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, like I said, the reason why I think this is a really important topic to talk about is because last week I sent out an email to my email list asking, because right now I'm working on a couple of different projects, and one of them is going to be a free week-long workshop. And I want to make sure that all of the trainings, because I'm always working on creating new trainings and new ways to help my community in both free and paid ways. So I was asking what people struggle with the most. And I got a flood of emails of people getting back to me with things that they really need help with. And one of the emails that I got was from a woman named Kristen. Now, Kristen took part in my intuitive eating challenge in April, and she got a massive perspective shift while going through the challenge. And she had reached out to me at the end of the challenge, inquiring about working with me through my group coaching program, and was not able to make it happen at that time. And so Kristen, I got an email from her back saying, so the thing that she was struggling with the most was that right now, my biggest struggle is liking myself for who I am and how I look. I love to exercise 4 to 5 times a week, and I've really been focusing on food as fuel, but I still can't stand to look in the mirror. And reading that email, I just knew that this was not an isolated experience. This is something that happens often. We start healing our relationship with food, but the relationship with our body still holds us back. It still holds us back from being a true, full, free, intuitive eater. And I was so happy to hear that she had changed her relationship with food. She was able to start seeing food as fuel. When we talked on our session together, she was telling me how she doesn't eat for emotional reasons as much anymore. When she's going through a hard time, her first reaction is not to turn to food. She doesn't have the guilt. She can have the creamer in her coffees now. Like, she's really made amazing progress on her relationship with food, but she was finding herself getting sucked back in to old behaviors, to old diet culture mindsets. So when I got this email, I knew I wanted to talk to her, because by coaching her, I can also help coach you. And this is one of the things I love doing the most is coaching, being on coaching calls with my Food Freedom Academy clients, because that's where you get to dig deeper into people's limiting beliefs and core beliefs and understand their blind spots that are keeping them stuck. It really is the most transformative experience. It is the way to make progress fast and get out of your own way. I have no doubt after working with clients for years now, since I started my business, that these coaching sessions are the thing that is going to fast track your ability to heal your relationship with food and your body. And not just that, but like your self-development, your personal growth. I just started therapy a couple of months ago, and getting to talk to someone who reflects things differently, who makes me get critical about my own thinking and my automatic thoughts, and makes me find my blind spots and work through them. It has been transformative in my life. And I want to be able to do that on a larger scale, because you have likely heard some of my coaching over coffee sessions on the podcast, and I know that you guys love it. I have gotten so many emails from it. But the only downside of the coaching over coffee sessions is that I can only talk to one person. So I have been brainstorming on ways that I can help a larger audience and I can be of more service. And I have been working on a secret project that I am so excited about. I told myself that I would take this summer easy and I would rest up and not take on too many projects because the weather's so nice here. But to be honest, I just can't. I cannot stop and rest because I have so many projects that I want to bring to you. I'm always looking for ways to help and bring on more education and transformation. And I can finally reveal what that secret project was, because today I announced it. I announced it to my email list, gave them an opportunity to save their seat and enroll. So this is going to be a group food freedom coaching over coffee chat. So let me break it down for you. Today is Friday, July 21st, and we are going to start next Friday. So every Friday, I'm going to be hopping on Zoom with everyone who has saved their seat for this group coaching over coffee. And this is going to be 100% free, by the way. There is no catch other than the fact that the spots are limited, because I can't have 5,000 people on this Zoom call, because I want to be able to answer your questions more thoroughly. So I'm going to be coming on this Zoom chat, and you're going to have the opportunity to either submit questions ahead of time through a little questionnaire, or to come on these calls and to hear me coach other people through their challenges, whether that's binge eating or emotional eating or changing their habits or changing their mindsets or body image, whatever is relevant to your food and body freedom journey. We're going to be having open discussions. And what's going to be really amazing about this is the community aspect of this, because I can tell you that everyone who's listening to this podcast has the same goals, right? If you wouldn't be here, if you didn't have the goal of having a better relationship with food, of healing your body image, and of breaking free from yo-yo dieting and binge eating and emotional eating. And after creating my group coaching program, I was doing a lot of one-on-one. Before that, I was doing private clients, and then my schedule got too full. So I created a group coaching program, and the most magical thing happened, because the sense of community, of knowing that other people are exactly where you're at, they're feeling the same way, they're having the same struggles. It's so powerful. And I want to be able to create that for you too. And again, I'm offering this absolutely free. The only catch is that the spots are limited. So if you want to know more about this, it's going to happen. It's going to be a summer series. So this is not going to be forever. I can't remember exactly how many weeks I'm doing this for. I think it goes until the beginning of September. So I think it's going to be maybe 7 or 8 weeks where I'm going to be coming on every Friday with a cup of joe, or maybe some like cold brew, because it's the summer. You can come on with your favorite beverage, whether that's a tea or a coffee or a bubbly, whatever feels right for you. And you get to come on and ask questions and listen, or just to support others. No matter what your intent is, you will get so much value from it. So if you're like, I know that I need support, I know that I want to ask someone, an expert, questions on my own personal struggles, or I just want a community. I don't want to be going through this alone. And most importantly, I don't want to keep falling back into my old habits, into restrictive mindsets, into yo-yo dieting. Then you can head to sabrinamagna.com/coffee. And don't worry, that link is going to be in the show notes. So you can go and click on that link, because I know that my last name can be difficult to spell, Magnan. But you can head to that page, and all it's going to ask you is for your name and email to save your spot. And then you're going to get that private Zoom link. You're going to be able to add it to your calendar. And then as of next Friday, we're going to be on together. You're going to get to talk to me. You're going to get to ask your questions. I don't know if you can hear the excitement in my voice, but as I've been working on this for the past couple of weeks, I have just been dying to announce it and release it and offer this to you. So you can go to the show notes for all of those details. And that is going to be the end of my rambling over these new group food freedom coaching over coffee sessions. It's going to be a series for the summer. All right, so going back to today's topic. So what you're going to hear is going to be the call that I had with Kristen, where I helped coach her through her body image stuckness, her body image mental blocks. And the reason why I refer to this as one of the biggest roadblocks to people's healing journey is because a lot of people, when they think about intuitive eating, they focus on the food, right? So I'm just going to get rid of the food rules and I'm just going to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And at the beginning, a lot of people, it goes through phases. And at the beginning, a lot of people will experience what we call a honeymoon phase, right? So in the honeymoon phase, you're so excited because you're no longer dieting. So you're bringing all of these foods back into your life. And especially if you're doing this without structure, it can sometimes even feel a little bit overwhelming, and it can feel a little bit out of control because you're not doing this systematically. You're doing it all at once. That's where that all or nothing mentality from diet culture starts creeping back in. If I don't have any food rules, then I'm just going to have no food rules. So you move from one extreme to another. So at the beginning, you have that honeymoon phase. And what a lot of people will experience is they'll notice that their bodies start changing. Because in that honeymoon phase, especially if you're coming off of an extremely restrictive diet, whether you were doing keto or intermittent fasting, you were under eating and you were under your set point weight. So when we talk about set point weights, we mean that natural weight that your body falls at when you're not heavily restricting, you're not over exercising, when you have a healthy relationship with food and you're eating all types of food. And it also is the weight that you'll fall at when you also remove some of those side effects from dieting, like the binge eating and the chronic overeating. So when you're coming off of a diet that was making you under your set point weight, and there's no way to choose what our set point weight is. It's not a choice that we get. It is something that is genetic. Just like when you go to a dog park, you're going to see golden retrievers, you're going to see chihuahuas, you're going to see French bulldogs, you're going to see all different types of body shapes and sizes. It doesn't make one dog more healthy or more worthy than the others. The same goes for human beings. We all will have different set point weights. And I'm sure that you could think of someone in your life who just naturally is going to be really, really thin. Like no matter what they eat, they're just going to be really, really thin. And then you'll see other people in your life where naturally they have a bigger build and they will never look like a stick figure. And that's because we're all born and we all develop different set point weights. So if, again, going back to that idea that if you're coming off of a diet that was heavily restrictive, that had a lot of rules, and that created this unsustainable way of eating. And then you start intuitively eating and you start bringing some of those foods back. It is a natural response for your body to start growing into your set point weight, to start growing into a weight that is more naturally sustainable for you. And that happened for me. When I had an eating disorder, I got to much under my set point weight. And when I became an intuitive eater, along with gaining the weight that I needed to gain in order to be healthy, because I lost my period, my hair started thinning out, my nails became brittle. That was a weight that I needed to gain back my physical and my mental health. And for someone who is going through this on their own and they're starting to see their bodies change, that's when the socially conditioned thoughts around food, around weight, around your body, around health start creeping in. And there can be that alarm bell that says you've been doing something wrong because you've gained weight, right? You're letting yourself go. You're failing. You're undisciplined. And all of those thoughts that you thought that you had gotten rid of when you started healing your relationship with food start creeping right back up. And that right there, that's that roadblock. It's the thing that most people miss, because when you're working on healing your relationship with food, but you're not addressing the core beliefs and the underlying root cause of what triggered your initial desire to lose weight, which is body image, right? Look back on all the times that you've dieted and how it started. It starts with this desire and this dissatisfaction with our bodies, with our weight, wanting to be more socially, quote unquote, acceptable. And to try to become an intuitive eater, to find both food and body freedom without doing the work on your body image is like having a bucket of water that has holes in it. And of course, water keeps draining out. And instead of filling the holes and closing those gaps, you just keep adding more water to the bucket. No matter how much water, how much effort you make on your relationship with food, if you don't block those holes, if you don't plug those holes, it's going to keep emptying out and you're going to keep struggling. And those holes in this case is body image work. So with that being said, I'm going to let you hear the session that I had with Kristen, where we talked about her blocks when it comes to body image, and we talked about her mindset when it comes to going back to some of the restrictive behaviors that led her to reach out to me a couple of months ago. So I want you to be able to listen to this coaching session, and what you're going to hear there is going to resemble a lot of the kind of coaching that we're going to do in our group coaching over coffee series. It's not just going to be about body image. It's going to be about binge eating and emotional eating. Emotional eating is one of the things I love talking about the most, along with habit formation. So if you're someone who keeps trying to form a new habit and you're only able to do it for a week and then you fall right back, or if you're someone who wants to do more movement, if you want to get more exercise into your day, but the thought is super daunting and you have a very all or nothing mentality when it comes to health behaviors, these group sessions are going to be so good for you and so good for me because I love doing this stuff. So let's go ahead and listen to Kristen's coaching session. And as you're listening, I want you to think about how this relates to you, how much of it you resonate with, and take some notes, whether it's on your phone or on a notepad, because if you're taking notes and you're being active in your listening, it's going to be retained a lot more. So let's go ahead and listen to that session. And just to give you some context, when we get into the coaching session, she is telling me how she has noticed her weight changing and it's been having a big impact on the way that she feels about herself. So here we go.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. And I know it shouldn't matter, but it does kind of matter.
Okay.
to me at
Okay.
least.
And that's totally understandable. We live in a society that is very weight focused. And so
Yeah.
I completely want to validate the way that you're feeling. I would like to dive a little bit deeper though. When you say it does matter to me, right? What do
Uh-huh.
you think about it matters the most to you? Why do you think that it bothered you so much?
I don't know. I guess when I was doing all the dieting, yo-yo dieting, I'd kind of set a goal for myself for a weight I wanted to reach. Um, but I'd also kind of set a goal for myself, like a weight I absolutely will never let myself get to because I felt like that was unhealthy, unattractive on me. And that's the weight that I saw on the scale yesterday.
Okay.
So I guess that's, I was just kind of like, all right, I will never let myself get to this point. I'm a numbers geek. So like, I like black and white, like, okay, here's the finish line kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
And where did you get this number from?
I just created it. I was
Okay.
just like, okay, that sounds like a good number.
Okay. So this number was created in your mind. So a number
Yeah.
that was created by your mind is causing you suffering because you set a standard for yourself that is causing you to feel shame because you went over it. So that's the first
Mm-hmm.
piece,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was all
Yeah.
self-created.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you set that number because you, in your mind, thought, if I go over that number, that is unhealthy. Do you
Mm-hmm.
feel like for the past few months, as you've been healing your relationship with food, exercising consistently, choosing healthier foods by choice and no longer through restrictions and yo-yo dieting, do you feel like you've gone unhealthy?
No, not physically.
Okay.
Um, no, I know
And
it's all a mental, it's a mental thing, and I'm a mental case.
no, oh my goodness. If you think that I don't hear this all the time on our coaching calls, this is very normal. It's
Yeah.
normal that you're feeling this way because what a lot of people don't realize is the power of their own thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
how we often create our own suffering because
Yeah.
you created this number in your head that meant that if you hit it, you were unhealthy. Maybe you created a thought that means I've let myself go, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did you ever stop to actually evaluate the validity of that statement, of that thought, and looked back on the past couple of weeks and months and ask yourself, do I have any evidence or proof that shows that this thought is factual?
No, nothing.
Right. So when you actually look back on the work that you've been doing, that has not only helped you become physically healthier, but also mentally, do you feel, if you were to compare how you felt around food, around exercise for the past couple of weeks, compared to what you were doing when you were yo-yo dieting and feeling obsessed with food, if you were to compare that mental state, which one do you feel like is where you want to be?
This one,
Okay.
this one, because I feel like I'm in control. Um, yeah, I guess I feel like I'm more in control of myself. Um, but I'm also like my own worst critic. I mean, I think we all are.
Mhm.
So I'll always be my own devil's advocate and everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like this mentally is a healthier version. Physically, it probably is. I mean, my doctors, whenever I go in for my annual whatevers, they don't have any concerns. And when I try to talk to them about my weight, they're just kind of like, "You're fine." I'm like, "Yeah, okay," but in my mind, I'm not. Um, so I got to get over that hurdle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. In your mind, you're not.
Yeah,
Why do you think that is?
because I grew up in the '80s when everyone was skinny, and diet culture was popular, and so for me, jiggly thighs and a mommy belly from 17 years ago or 21 years ago is just not attractive.
Okay. What would it take for you to get down to a weight that is lower than the weight that you're at when you have a healthy relationship with food and with exercise?
I mean, all the things that keep coming to mind are like counting calories and like intermittent fasting and all of those like gluten-free, dairy-free kind of stuff that I'm trying to avoid.
Right. And all of those things that you mentioned are all of the reasons why a couple of months ago you reached out to me hoping for a change.
Yeah.
And I know I've been someone who had an eating disorder. I got to a point, weight that was much under my set point weight. And there's still some days where I have bad body image days. Everyone has bad body image days from time to time. And whenever I think about that weight that I was at, I bring myself back to the headspace that I was in when I was at that weight. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel any better about myself. I never felt like it was enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I also asked myself, what would be the cost of me getting back to that weight? And because you've been through that experience, you know what your own cost is. My
Mm-hmm.
cost was my social life, my mental health, my freedom around food, a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of anxiety and depression that comes along with my eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
That is the cost of quote unquote the beauty ideals.
Mm-hmm.
And we think when I hit a certain weight, whatever that goal weight is for you in your mind, we think then I'll be happy. Then I'll feel confident. But if every step of the way, as you're trying to inch closer and closer to your quote unquote dream body, you're hating yourself thin, you're thinking, I'm not acceptable as I am right now. So I'm going to restrict. I'm going to go against my biology. I'm going to harm my relationship with food. I'm going to go back to all these old patterns that I know from history leads me to going up and down in weight, affects my self esteem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to that. And then hopefully, even though I don't change my mindset along the way and I don't work on my body image, which is the thing that creates confidence and acceptance, not a number on the scale. Body image lives in our mind. The way that we see our body and feel about our bodies have actually nothing to do with the number on the scale. Because you will find people who are in all kinds of bodies and who feel differently about their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's no work that's being done on the way that you relate to yourself and your body image and the way that you think about your body and your life as a whole, do you think that there's just going to be like a light, like a switch that goes off, and then finally all of your problems will go away and you can finally stop restricting and you can finally start living?
No, because I did that once. I had actually gotten to my goal weight and allowed myself a celebratory day, and then it just, I was yo-yoing again. I was just back at like everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish it would, but I know. Things are more complicated than that.
Yeah. And it is much harder work to go against society's perspective on body image and on health and on weight. It's more work to work through people pleasing habits and perspectives, because I do a lot of work with my clients on people pleasing, because it is very much related to dieting and our body image. If I can make other people around me more comfortable with the way that I look, maybe I'll feel more comfortable with the way that I look.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
I'm definitely a people pleaser.
yeah, most of my clients are. Most of my clients are. And if you were to bring yourself to, fast forward years from now, and you're on your deathbed, and you look at how many years were spent trying to please people who are going to show up at your funeral and are not going to mention a thing about the way that your body looked or the size of your jeans, how do you think that would make you feel?
Like I've wasted a lot of time focusing on the the physical.
Yeah. You're healthy, Kristen. And do you believe that you are able to find happiness and self-acceptance? And I'm not even saying you have to love your body. This is not what it's about, right? I think that body positivity can be unrealistic for some people. And to force someone into body positivity when you've spent your entire life hating your body is unrealistic. And it doesn't take into account the weight of our society. But being able to feel neutral about your body and to not place your self-worth on what your body looks like. Because this isn't about health anymore. This is about feeling worthy if I look or weigh a certain amount. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, and I can't remember which of your podcasts because I've had to get caught up. I've been behind. The compliments, that you get for having the smaller size clothes, or the girl, I could never fit in your clothes, you're so tiny, those kind of compliments, which people say them and they mean them, like they're genuine, they're trying to pump me up or whatever, but then it's like I gain weight and I stop getting those compliments, and it's like, all right, well, if I went back to dieting or whatever, if I were smaller, I would get those compliments again. And, I'm not the smartest or the fastest or the strongest or anything. So it's kind of like that was way back when, and maybe still now. I don't know. Like one thing I thought I could accomplish that no one else around me could.
Yeah. How often do you compliment yourself?
Never. Never. That's not the way I was raised.
So, of course, you're going to be constantly searching for any kind of external validation. Does that external validation ever last, ever make it internal and make you feel worthy?
Not for long amounts of time. I mean, it feels good at that moment.
Yeah. And if you were to look at the 10 people who you love the most in your life, how many of them do you love because of the way that their bodies look?
None of them.
So if we were to bring it back to your current situation, how you feel about your body, feeling like I have to do something about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like you really need to do about this?
I need to like get in a better headspace. I mean, because I know physically there's nothing to be done. And I know, like, if mentally I'm setting a better example for my family, and if my doctors say that I'm healthy, that I should listen to them. But I'm still a product of, the society and the culture, and I'm surrounded by people who, I mean, my gym even had a contest this spring. Basically, it was to see who could lose the largest percentage body fat, but all of it was making me neurotic.
And that's a big piece of something we work on in the program with the clients is you get to decide not to take part in diet culture anymore. And it has to be a decision that you make, and you make a commitment to it. Because as long as you take part in small pieces here and there, it's very easy to get sucked back into it because it is the majority in our society.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. That's something that all of my clients say when they come on our coaching calls every week is, now that I've brought my attention to it, every conversation is about weight and about dieting and about food.
Yeah.
And you need to make, if you are serious about finding peace and joy in your body, regardless of what it looks like, and maintaining this peace and joy around food so that you don't go back into those years and years of restricting and dieting, then it requires a commitment to cut off the ideologies, the belief system that goes along with diet culture, one of which being associating your worth, your value as a human being to a number on the scale or the shape of your body. All right, so I'm going to end the session there. And that was a little snippet of it. We then go on to give her some homework and some things to focus on for the next 2 weeks to start working on her body image and start increasing self-confidence and self-esteem and changing that internal self-talk, because the way that you talk to yourself, the identity that you have, and your self-criticism has a massive impact on your behaviors. And it's so important to change at the thought level instead of trying to change at the habit level. Because if you keep trying to change at the habit level, but you don't change your thoughts, you're going to keep spinning around in circles. And I'm sure that you've experienced this before. So I hope that you got a lot of value from this episode. I hope that it brought awareness to the importance of doing that body image work if you want to get to a point where you have a healthy relationship with food. One cannot happen without the other. And if you want more of these kind of coaching sessions, if you want to get to speak to me about your personal questions and get some guidance, some support, some advice, some tools, some strategies, even some homework to do so that you can start making real, quicker progress on your journey towards a healthier relationship with food, with your body, and leave dieting behind once and for all, then I would absolutely love to see you inside of our brand new group Food Freedom Coaching Over Coffee sessions that I'll be hosting every Friday this summer. Go to sabrinamagnan.com/coffee. Yeah. /coffee. And you'll also find that link in the show notes to sign up, get the private Zoom link, get the link to add it to your calendar. And then I will see you next Friday to do some coaching. I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to see you, and have an amazing weekend. I will see you for the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magna Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.